Hi, I'm Victoria Lee, and welcome again to Making It Happen. Today's show is going to be a little bit different than what we normally have. We're going to have Bikers Against Child Abuse today, and it's something that's very dear to my heart, so I hope you'll stay tuned. We want to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors, and when we come back, we're going to have the founder of BACA on stage with us and talking about some of the things that they've experienced.
As a CASA volunteer, I'm a link. A key link in providing information to the court that will assist them in making informed decisions about the case. I'm just one person, but my being there means a lot to that child, and it means even more to me.
Every person has the power to make a difference.
Today I found a lucky flower. I think that's a good sign. Another family is coming this week to choose one of us. And this time, maybe, just maybe, they will choose me.
Give a child the gift of hope by becoming a CASA volunteer.
Welcome back to Making It Happen. Several months ago, I got an email from a gentleman who wanted us to come and speak at his organization called BACA, Bikers Against Child Abuse. And of course, since that's something that's so close to my heart, I've just written a book called A Way Out, The Cycle of Abuse and the Recovery Process, that I wanted immediately to go and speak with their organization. And today, we have the founder of that organization here with us all the way from Utah. I'd like to introduce to you, Chief. Thank you, Chief. Thank you for coming. Bless you. Have a seat. Okay, Chief, so we've been waiting for this for a long time, and I appreciate you coming all the way from Utah to be with us today. I know this is a subject that's been with you for several years now. I think we were talking the other night, and you're a licensed...
I'm a licensed clinical social worker and also a registered play therapist. Pretty much a specialized area in treating really young kids, like between 2 and 3 and 4, all the way up to about 8.
When the starting of the damage really happens in their life,
well,
right?
Depending on when that starts to happen,
right.
You know, and it had been a long time that we weren't able to treat kids that young, but thanks to some really courageous pioneers, now we can really help them and treat them and get them back on the road.
Well, now, how'd this all start? I mean, were you in Utah at the time when BACA actually started? I
was in Utah. This next month will mark 24 years that I've been a licensed clinician, and 20 years working almost exclusively with kids, and just the absolute frustration that comes from working with children from the system, from parents, from the perpetrators and these other kind of people that just intruded upon their lives, just made life a nightmare. Because I'd see them 1 hour a week, but they'd have all the rest of the week to hassle these kids and tip them upside down and stuff. So I just got frustrated with it. I was either go postal or get organized. So
right. So when did BACA actually begin?
1995 is when we had our first actual organized ride. Well,
how did it get to be a ride, though? It was just you at first thinking that your heart's breaking for all the children.
Well, I had some wonderful experiences growing up with bikers where I lived.
Okay.
They became my family, and had some abusive kinds of things going on for me real early, and just infused a lot of fear in me.
In yourself, okay.
In me, and a lot of hatred. And I lived according to that for a long time until I was adopted pretty much at 8 years old by this motorcycle club that lived in my neighborhood. And they had my back, and they brought safety back into my life, and thanks to them, you know, I was able to.
So you'd been riding bikes all this time?
Well, I had riding bikes from the time I was a little kid. My earliest memory sitting on my dad's Harley, an old panhead that he had, you know, sitting on the tank and zipping down the road and everything. But I just remember what it felt like to be 8 years old, you know, and knowing that these guys had my back no matter what. If I was in trouble, I didn't head home. I headed to the clubhouse. That's where I was going.
Now, was there a particular incident, though, that caused you to, because you didn't know it was going to be what it is today.
Yeah.
Was there a particular incident, though, that actually said, I need to organize something?
Well, what happened was there was one little boy that I was working with. He was 8 years old, and he had been terribly abused, and it was all organized and covered up. You know, I don't know, so maybe some folks don't believe in that cult thing out there, but this is one of those boys. And he wouldn't even go outside of his own house, no matter what time of day or anything. And then nothing I could do therapeutically in an hour was helping this boy get better. And I just got frustrated, and I knew some of the biker community in Utah. I didn't grow up there. I just said, you know, man, will you guys help me? You know, and on that first ride, we had 27 motorcycles show up, and people said, yeah. And it hit me then, you know, people are against this child abuse stuff, and they want to do something, they just didn't have an organized way to do it. So I thought, okay, I've got to organize that. And lo and behold, you know, I've got brothers and sisters everywhere that, you know, all through this country and now starting to be around the world who are picking up that banner and running with it, saying, you know, it's over.
So what do you actually do, though?
Well, our primary objective is to provide aid and comfort to these wounded kids. And we do that by becoming part of their lives, by becoming part of their family. We go to their homes.
Well, how do you find out, though, that a child is needing your help?
We get referrals from a bunch of different sources around the country. Some of them come through the Children's Advocacy Center, some come from DHS, some come from other therapists, some come from the police, some come from prosecutors, and a lot of times it's just word of mouth. People
Now,
get
could a
homeless.
child actually call you?
They can, but we have to have permission.
Oh, okay.
And we also have to verify that the case is legitimate and that it's actually being, you know, prosecuted. And because this really, the system does have a lot to offer in the form of money, therapy, relocation stuff that we just don't do. All we can provide is our physical presence that says you're one of us, and we're going to stand there, and we're not going to tolerate you being afraid anymore. That's just
Because your slogan is, I think I have one of those bumper stickers that says, what about
no
fear?
child deserves to live in fear.
No child deserves to live in fear. Yeah, right.
That's
Wow.
right. So our primary objective is to remove that fear from their eyes. I mean, the greatest joy for all of us, I think, in BACA is to watch a child return to being a kid again. And that goes for the adolescents too. I'm working with a girl right now. She's 16, and she'll sit there in sessions sometimes just say, well, Chief, what do your kids do? You know, because she doesn't know how to be a kid. She doesn't know how to go hang out. She doesn't know. And then we went over to her house last week and did a ride, and she was on another bike, and she looked back and she stuck her tongue out at me, you know, and she's learning.
Oh,
she's learning to be a
wow.
kid again. Yeah.
Oh, so I'm sure you have story after story like that. I mean, do you keep track of these children, though, that you actually, or are you allowed to? I mean, I don't know.
Oh, absolutely. Once you're part of our family, you don't get forgotten. If you've been a BACA kid 10 years ago, you're still invited to the Christmas party. You're still invited to the activities where we can say, hey, we still love you. I think there's probably, Oklahoma's been around long enough. They've probably seen some kids who have been to a few graduations, been through to a few weddings and stuff of these kids as they've just grown up, and they're not forgotten.
Now, do I have this correct? Isn't Oklahoma one of the chapters? I think it was the one that we went and visited. Is the first one that they had in Oklahoma?
Yeah, I believe so. That'd be the central chapter.
Okay.
And I was completely unprepared. I thought, I'm going to just take care of my little county here, you know,
Utah,
with these guys, and we're not going to organize really much. We're just going to, you know, and then, you know, hey, we want to do that here in Salt Lake County, and then it was, no, we want to do that in Oklahoma too, and then we want to do it in Texas, Missouri, Georgia, everywhere, and it just went
and
crazy.
you end up having a lot of bike rallies, don't you, where all of you get together? Don't you have that once a year or something? Or?
Well, we used to have an annual rally where everybody would try and get together and stuff. We have a conference where it's really a working meeting, but we take care of a lot of different aspects of BACA, like how to talk to the kids, and there's another part about security, there's another part about ride safety, there's another part about handling your finances and all that stuff. So it got to be way bigger than me,
right,
and way smarter than me.
So how many associations or organizations or cities or towns that you're in right now?
I think we've got a little over 130 chapters. I'm not sure. I think it's about 40 plus, maybe 41 states right now that we're in.
Wow.
And
almost covering the whole U.S.
Yeah, you could ride from the East Coast all the way across and never go out of all the way to California and not go out of BACA territory. And we've got 4 chapters in Australia, and we have a working effort right now. Our guys are going out to Belgium in this next couple months, and they'll be establishing that over there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you go into the court system with these children sometimes, and that's the purpose of just your presence being there in the courtroom?
Well, can you imagine, and maybe you have, Victoria, what it's like to be a little child and have to you have to afford this perpetrator their constitutional right to stare you down from X number of feet away. Many states have passed a law where they can accept videotape, but rarely do I ever see that done. And there's nobody, you know, got a big judge, big guy with a robe on with a hammer up sitting up there, and he, you know, it's very intimidating. So you can look back and see your BACA family there, and we tell them, focus on us, look at us, tell the truth. And that's all we're there for, just to, again, to remove that fear.
Wow. Well, can we take a commercial break
Absolutely,
real quick
it's your
here?
show.
And we're going to come right back and talk to you for a minute, because
Okay.
this is an interesting subject and we all need to be aware of it. We need to help our children. So would you come back with us in a few minutes? We'll take a quick commercial break, honor some of our sponsors. And if you like this show, you guys, please go check out some of our sponsors. Welcome back to Making It Happen. And we have Chief here with us, the founder of BACA, Bikers Against Child Abuse. So can you give us maybe a couple of stories of something that's happened, or what else could we?
Well, the stories that we have are many, but mostly it's about reestablishing a sense of safety and a sense of accomplishment for children. The thing that we battle a lot right now is the system, the way the courts operate, the rights that the perpetrators have. To delay trials, to delay things going on, because we try and be as mobile as we can to back those kids up. But if they just say, oh, we need a continuance, Your Honor, boop, all 30 people who went there now have to schedule another part of their day off and things like that. But, you know, the system is incredibly abusive to these kids, from the forensic exams to the interviews themselves, because the rules of evidence are such that right now these children are not shielded or protected from that, from talking about things so blatantly and openly. It's like re-experiencing that for them. And then, of course, to get the court process, they're not protected there and stuff. And, you know, I don't know what can be done about that other than the fact that we have to find a better way to allow these children to communicate in their language.
Well, maybe talking about it today can help change some of that. Because we really need to make it, you know, there's so many people that are living it or have lived it, child abuse, that need to speak out as well.
Right.
You know, they don't need to be silent any longer.
Well, maybe it'll start here on the Victoria Lee
We'll
show.
do it.
Cool.
We're going to make it happen. Welcome back. Today we have with us Chief, who is the founder of BACA, Bikers Against Child Abuse. Thank you again for being here with us, Chief.
Thanks for having us.
And we've got so many things that we could talk about concerning your organization, but let's bring out a couple of the guys that you brought with us, because we've got a whole audience full of bikers out there. But let's have just a couple of them come out.
That's pretty good,
and,
huh?
yeah.
Sure.
It's a showing.
It's Big John, our state rep from Oklahoma.
How you doing?
Good. And Blues Man.
Blues Man.
How you doing, brother?
You guys have a seat. Thank you again for you all coming as well. I think I met Blues Man when we went to do your chapter. Now, were you at that chapter?
Yes.
Big John, or?
I was there when you showed up and brought your book and whatnot.
Oh, okay.
But I'm from the southeast side of the state.
Oh, okay. Well, tell us what you guys do in the organization and what part that you play and how you got involved with it to start with.
What got me involved, me and my wife was at a bike rally, and we'd seen some BACA patches running around, and you know, it's like, that'd be an organization that'd be worthwhile on helping some kids. And so it didn't seem like just a month later we heard of the first chapter meeting in our area. So we showed up and just kind of sat in the back, you know, to see what it was about. And it was something we decided we wanted to devote our life to. And it's just rolled on from there. Started out showing up to a national meeting, and by the time I got back from the national meeting, I was chapter vice president, and then chapter rep, and now the state rep. And what I do is I'm the communication from the state of Oklahoma to international, and anything that needs to go back and forth, I'm the go-through guy. And
Well, he's one of those guys too. He sits on the international board, so he has a lot of hand in making decisions and direction about the future of BACA
Wow.
as well.
Was it hard for, and this may be a silly question, but since it was your baby to start with, was it hard to relinquish some of the, to go in different directions and say, I'm going to put you in charge of this part, or, you know what I'm saying? It's just like,
It's a mixed bag. It really was, Victoria. I had feelings of like, wanting to hang on to everything, but then at the same time realizing that this is bigger than me, and quite honestly, it doesn't belong to me.
right.
And when I realized that, it became pretty easy at that point to just say, you know what, let's utilize all of our talents, let's utilize all of our gifts, and let's just rock and roll.
Well, I know from talking with Pam, another biker, that she's told me, they have such gratitude toward you and gratefulness for what you've, and it really is, it says a lot about who you are, because you can't be a leader if nobody's following.
Well, that's true. I never considered myself, that guy though. And I posed a question to everybody at the last international conference, and a question I posed everybody there was, who are you? I need to know that our members know who they are. And the answer to that question that I wanted them to get is that they're the one. You are the one. For that child, you are the one. You are that. No one else is going to do it. Only going to be these guys out here. You are that one in that child's life that's going to turn everything around.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but did you have something else that you wanted to?
oh, I'm doing pretty good. No, it just all the little things that you do seem to make a big difference throughout the organization, and it, like Chief was saying, it don't just take one person; it takes everybody out there, and they all have different skills, and one child may take to that person better than another, and that's what makes it click and work. They find someone they feel comfortable with, and their life starts changing from there because they've got comfort. Yeah.
Well, now, I was talking to Chief earlier before you guys came out and talked. When I was growing up, when you see a big gang of bikers come down the street, fear would immediately grip you because you thought they were all mean. But that's not what you all are. So what's made the difference? Has it been able to change other people's view of bikers because of Bikers Against Child Abuse? You think? Have you heard that?
They're starting to realize that, just from things I've heard, that they see we are business owners. They still respect that we are bikers, but they're not looking at us like thugs. They're looking at us as people that are there to take care of the kids and that will take business serious and do what we say we're going to do. And that's what makes BACA work.
The analogy I like is the one about the electric fence. If you keep, you know what it does, and if you get too close, it's going to bite you. And that's like our members are like that when it comes to the kids. But we're just regular people. But when it comes to the kids, we can be that electric fence, and we will be that electric fence. So we haven't lost our biker edge. The feds are watching us, the biker clubs are watching us. Everybody had their eye on us for a number of years, seeing do these guys really mean what they say, and do they do what they say they do? And I think we've proven ourselves.
Wow, I think you have too. Yeah. You want to pass the microphone over and let's see, or you're mic'd. Yeah. Okay, good. Tell us your name.
I'm Blues Man.
Blues Man, and tell us what you do in the organization.
I'm the president of the Oklahoma chapter.
Okay, and when did you first get involved?
It was about 4 years ago, and saw some of the BACA members at a biker function, and in my profession I had seen child abuse and reported child abuse, but once it was reported, we never really heard anything from that point on. And this kind of gave me an opportunity to work on the other side and be able to help these kids repair and go on with life after child abuse. And so that's why we got involved.
Well, I know in Tulsa, like if you hear if the court contacts you or the any of the different locations that deal with the child abuse, when they contact you, does everybody rally around, or do you make phone calls? I mean, how does that all get together?
Well, we first go out and meet with the child. We have a committee that goes out and meets with the child and gets the information, and it's then approved by the state board whether or not we should accept this child and adopt this child. And from there, once they're adopted, we go out to their house or someplace that they feel safe. Sometimes they don't want to meet at their house, but we ride as a group, as a chapter, and other chapters will join into us. And so we'll have 30, 40, 50 bikes sometimes, and we'll ride out and we say adopt that child into our family, make that child a brother or a sister to us. And from that point on, we're their family, and we go to court with them to make them feel like they're not going through this alone. It's a terrifying experience for a child to be violated by an adult and then be surrounded by adults. And when you put them in the courtroom, they're in an environment that they're not used to. The attorneys are speaking a language they don't understand, and they've got someone that violated them sitting 6 or 8 feet away from them, and they're terrified. But with us in the courtroom with them, it just empowers them, and it makes them feel not afraid, and they're able to tell their story, and justice is done.
Wow. It's incredible what you guys are doing. I wish that there'd been someone like you around way before you started, but I guess God had a plan. He picked the right man.
Well, I look back at those experiences that I had with those guys, and when they had my back, when they took care of me. And I just remember that overwhelming feeling of safety coming back in my life, and I was able to just really go back to that again. I still feel it even when I go out with my brothers and sisters and we go to see a child. I feel the same thing.
Well, what can we do as Americans, as Oklahomans? What can we do to help BACA?
Get off the porch, If you see something that's not right, pick up the phone and call the proper authorities. Recognize that we're not the bad guys, that we're there to help and provide aid and comfort, not to destroy anything, and just be there as an advocate and a supporter, just like your show.
Now, wasn't I told that sometimes you run across people that don't like what you're doing?
That happens quite a bit.
And that just seems unreal.
Kind of tells you where they're coming from, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Listen, guys, thank you so much for coming today and joining with us and being on Making It Happen. And we wish you the very best in everything that you do, and God's protection be on every single one of you. But thank you so much. And we're going to close out today with just a word about, 20 years ago, over 20 years ago now, I wrote a book, started writing a book called A Way Out. It's about the cycle of abuse and the recovery process. Like I told Chief a few minutes ago, I wish I had have known a group of men and women like BACA when I needed that help, but I didn't. So I spent the next several years running in fear that someone was going to hurt me again. But you know what? It's never too late to restore your self-image. You can do what God's planned for you to do, and you don't have to be afraid. We'll see you next time. People that haven't been in abusive situations, they think, what is wrong with you? Can't you just get over it? But you can't get over it unless somebody tells you how. The sad part of it is that so many people end up in these abusive situations, and you wonder why there's so much depression. Why is there so much suicide? Why is there so much alcoholism? Why is there so much drug addiction? There's something causing all of that.
Yes, it is.
There's something inside of you that's hurting. And you need to understand why you're hurting. But I was still a child inside. Because, you know, when it's almost like you get stuck in a period emotionally, and you can't go anywhere with it. So I got to the point where suicide was on my mind constantly. You know, how can I get out of this? How can I just stop the pain? It was almost like I had an open wound that I couldn't get to heal. Child abuse and domestic violence can cripple you emotionally. Victoria will interview guests who are willing to share their stories of survival and the steps they are taking to heal themselves.